I guess the commentary around that is that tourism is an economic driver of our, well, while it's only small, we're mainly primary industry, there is still an element of economic development in that space. So I think it's probably not a bad idea just to they wish. We're not telling them to or asking to, we're just highlighting obviously that. But
it's an option to utilise that.
Yeah. So
and it supports the conversations we had when she presented to us.
Correct. Okay, so Caleb's moved. Could I have a seconder, please? Gary? All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Next. Carried. Thank you. It's a relatively easy LTP to work through and read, and I recommend that it's still open. Their submission date isn't until the 1st of May, 30th of April, so there's still days for people to do their own submissions, and those listening in the community today may wish to also put a submission forward. Okay. Right.
Excuse me.
Yep.
Were we going to present or not? Was that?
Oh, good. Actually, that's one of the things that I haven't highlighted and missed. I don't think there's any need to. I think we've probably got quite a bit going on in that period, so we'll add that because that was in there, wasn't it? That was
so we're just 1, 2, and 3. It was
yes. So number 4 is that we won't consent. Sorry, thanks for raising that. We need to address that.
Good. Thank you. We just expressed that we don't wish to attend.
Yeah. I think that'd be fine just with where we've left that. Do we need to address them forward?
And that you're authorised to sign too, Adrian.
Yeah, that's number 3, which was the key thing, was number 3. Caleb had mentioned that. We just didn't put number 4 in, so the assumption is that we're not presenting.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you. I should go back to the recommendation I had highlighted it. Okay, now you're taking obviously item 7.232, Niall.
Yes, thank you. So this is the first of 2 CCO or council controlled organisation performance reports that I'm going to speak to today. The first one is Waikato Regional Council Limited, or REL, and so I've got here their draft statement of intent and half-yearly report. You would have seen, I won't go through it all in detail, but essentially in relation to this draft statement of intent, we are asked to provide feedback to inform that as a shareholder of REL. You will see there that Hamilton City Council have issued a letter of expectation around this, and we are asked to give out, or I'm seeking that council considers what Hamilton has said and our position on that, and whether you want to express back to the airport a position. Historically, we haven't tended to provide any feedback to them. Council's been generally quite comfortable with the direction that the board has been going. And when I've spoken to you before about the statements of intent, we've generally been quite happy with them. But you'll see there that there is, Hamilton, as a larger shareholder, is wanting to put emphasis on certain things around dividends, around the international capability of the airport. So I've attached the letter for that. You'll also see, as I said, the 6-month report that REL have provided to us. So yeah, really I'm just seeking your consideration of both of those things today.
Probably the one thing that I'd just question is around the Hamilton-Waikato tourism, because obviously they are involved with that, and whether the feedback is that obviously there's a lot of uncertainty around what councils are proposing to fund. But I have a question around the destination management plan, because I believe that was brought about from government funding. There was a grant to set up that destination management plan, and is that still a core role of Hamilton-Waikato tourism? I've had that raised with to me by an external party around those destination management plans, because just what that entails in their workflow. But that's for them to work through, because there's that element of uncertainty. So we just highlight our concern in that space, maybe.
Yep. So it'd be nice to have an update on the status of that work.
Yeah.
We was quite a bit of work put into preparing those.
Yeah, and given that we were at with our annual plans and long-term plans, and Waikato tourism from the councils in this region.
Yes.
So that would probably be the only thing that.
So they're a subsidiary of REL, Hamilton-Waikato Tourism.
So is there any other feedback? I think the tour went very well. I think that gave us a good appreciation of the work that they're doing and the strategy. I thought it was a good document. Obviously, being an enabler, I'm certainly and should I do? Theo Jane.
So it says in the report that a meeting with the mayors and SEDs has yet to be arranged. Has that been arranged yet? Or are we going to support Hamilton City's letter? Because to me it just sounds desperate.
No, well, I guess the. Oh no, that actually was. We did have the Zoom. Yeah, there was.
Okay.
Sorry. Yes, that's right. That was on Zoom last week. Sorry, my will.
There's been a lot of Zoom calls.
Yeah. So I think a lot of us, Hamilton City is in an interesting space where they've got a council that's quite politically leaning in sort of different directions and have their views. I think the general consensus is that we're supportive of the board and the strategy, that there's still that possibility of international. I think there's and I think the discussion around dividends is always an interesting one, and at the end of the day we haven't paid for those shares. We are a shareholder, and a dividend, and we've had a call on capital a few years ago, but it wasn't significant. But I think they're an independent board. They're dealing with it in a way that it's an economic enabler for our region, and I think that's the key.
And I mean, that tour was impressive to see everything that they've done, they're doing, and will continue to do in the future. So
yeah, I think that letter was just included because as an information point for us. I think we generally, and I get the feeling we're in support of the principle of what the board are doing. They're very considered, and they haven't closed doors on things. It's progress, and got to remember they've come through COVID. So yeah, it's quite an interesting space, and I think the development of the airport's been well received. So yeah, any further?
So just to further that, would this council want to provide a letter back to them saying that as part of our feedback, that we're comfortable with the draft statement of intent, or we just leave it?
I think we went to Hamilton.
No,
that we can provide a copy to them for information, just to say
it's just feedback. I think it's just feedback at the end of the day around.
Alan Sampson sent a wonderful letter to the Hamilton City Council last year.
Yeah, it was. I think it's been ongoing.
Well,
So I don't know that we need to say a lot. I think at the end of the day, we're in support of their. That is our statement. We don't need to put a letter in support, because us accepting, receiving this report as is, and just giving that little bit of feedback is pretty obvious we're in support.
Yeah. But Hamilton have certainly, you'll see in their letter that they've noted a number of things in terms of major transactions and the consistency with your other objectives and all kinds of business. So, that's their stance. But
and that is their stance. Yeah, doesn't have to be ours, and I don't see any support in that matter. So, would someone like to move that the information be received? Regional Airport we received the half yearly report, and we received their draft statement of intent, and that we approve it.
Yeah, I'll move that.
Oh, we could provide feedback. I think we've got a little bit of feedback. We just go to B and just provide that little bit of feedback around our approval, just with those comments around the Waikato tourism.
Okay, we
That's good.
don't need to respond to it.
No.
So we just note that just that query around the destination management plan, also the ongoing funding sustainability of Hamilton Waikato tourism.
So Sarah Jane, can you move that? Seconder, thanks Dane. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. Thank you. Right, then we move on to the shared services collab, trading as collab. 7.4.
Yeah, thank you. So I can speak to this one again. So very similar to the one we've just done in terms of our CCO performance monitoring. We've again got a half-yearly report from CoLab, which is the trading name of Waikato Local Authority Shared Services, previously called LAS. And essentially, it's jointly owned by the 12 councils in this region, and now Western Bay have joined, and council approved that some time ago. So they've got a vision to promote collaboration within the local government sector. So what we're asked to do today is to review and consider the half-yearly report, review their statement of intent, and also to approve the appointment of a new director to the CoLab board. And that is John Hollyoak, who has the position of the Chief Executive of Western Bay Plenty District Council. And he would effectively be acting on behalf of the 3 Eastern Waikato councils, so us, Haraki and Thames Coromandel. And that's just effectively replacing Don on that as a director.
No.
I'm happy to leave it there, and happy to take any questions.
Yes, I guess it's just noting the appointment of John Hollyoak. Don has recently resigned from the board. He did it for a couple of years, and I think Langley came as the CE from Hollyoak. He did it before that, so it's a bit of a rotation.
Yeah.
Do a rotation of people. So probably with Western Bay joining our part of the group, it's logical to move to that next point.
It's probably also quite good to have that person involved in that, because I'm quite new on board. So that perspective.
Has anyone got any questions around the reports? I guess you've been on it for a while, Don. Have you got any comment just as to the benefits that it has? I can see there are opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely.
The collaboration is quite important.
I think it would be surprising the number of different work streams that go on at CoLab, and they're very operational, obviously, and sort of low profile. For example, they've recently launched an e-learning program which takes various aspects of local government work and provides online training opportunities for them, for people who wish to participate. But what I'm getting to is that they offer opportunities. You can join or not join as you see fit, as it might suit your circumstance. I think potentially with Three Waters, there could well be further opportunities around functional aggregation that's delivered through a CoLab structure. So, and we've found good value in it, particularly things like the professional services panel, the roading asset management function, where we had expertise come in and guide us on good practice in our asset management plan for roading in particular. And so, yeah, it does good work at an appropriate level, put it that way.
Cool. Thanks for that, Simon. Any discussion? Someone like to move the recommendation? Quite a long one. Information we received. We received the half yearly report, December 31st. We received the draft statement of intent, and that council approves the draft statement of intent, and that we approve the appointment of Mr. John Holyoake from Western Bay to be our board member. Thanks, Russell. Seconded Dane. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against? Carried. Okay.
Thank you.
Board. Shows that our Waikato region can work together,
Yeah.
which is an important point to raise sometimes, even if it's at an operational level. Good. Right. Have we got Nathan coming down for item 8.1?
I got an email and he asked if I was okay to speak to that.
Right, yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, James. I was just going to ask that question if it was going to be.
Yes, I wasn't sure. I'm not sure whether it was coming down as well, but he did.
Yeah, no, that's cool.
I'm happy to speak to it.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, James.
I could do that.
Yep.
So I'll take the report as read. It's just bringing into our agenda and minutes the Huriki Forum from the 4th of December 2023 and the 4th of March 2024. Happy to take any questions, but I thought there'd be two things worth highlighting. The first one was from the 4th of March meeting, which was mushy flesh disease, which is not something I'd heard of before, and it's actually really
They get the old one here.
yeah, and so it's in snapper in particular where their flesh is milky in the first instance, and then it becomes much more mushy subsequent to that. And although it hasn't, they're in the process of documenting that, it's becoming appearing more frequently, and like all of these things, it's multifactorial, but it's generally seen as a bit of an indication of ecosystem health. So concerning and something that's been monitored a bit more strategically moving forward. The other thing, I guess more just an update, was about the calipa, which is that invasive seaweed, which is just becoming increasingly, pervasive around the Gulf and a real concern. And there's a lot of experimentation going on with managing that and removing it, and it's these big, enormous industrial vacuums are sucking it out and then disposing of it on land. And the government's indicated, obviously, the concern and support for keeping that moving forward. So a challenge, but there's a lot going on, a lot of it, testing things out, some really good wins, but an ongoing effort. And then I guess the other thing just to highlight is that Alec Rogers, the CE, has resigned. So he's moving on to another role. So if anyone's looking for a role as the CEO of the Huriki Golf Forum, the ad's up at the moment. But he will be very sorely missed, very, very thoughtful and competent individual, and manage the budget really well. So that's it. In his new role, he'll actually be a member of the forum. So we'll see him moving forward.
Yeah, he was. The couple of times we met him, I'm pretty impressed with him. James, I'm pleased that I was reading the report before, and it's I think there's enough $5 million to control the calipa. Is it? Yeah, I know it's probably a drop in the ocean, no pun intended, or maybe pun intended, I'm not sure. But I just encourage that work to keep on. I did see in the report also that they were talking about some commercial dredging for scallops starting this year. Is that? I thought I saw
Let me
something.
follow up on that one.
Yeah,
Sure.
and just asking for a friend, what does that mean? Recreational diving.
Let me just get some clarification on that one, James. I'm not too sure.
Okay, no, that's okay. I read something
Yeah.
as I went through it and about some potential, some commercial stuff happening in 24, but this year.
The detail of that, so I'll.
Because I think from memory, commercial season traditionally started 1st of July and recreational 1st of September.
Yeah, I'll come back to you with the detail.
Okay,
on that one.
just interested to know how that fishery is hopefully recovering and just clearly wanting to know about that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. Otherwise, no, interesting. Report.
Yeah.
Good. Sharon wasn't happy about the pictures of the crayfish.
It's there's quite a bit going on in that space at the moment. You know, when there was the big sinkhole in Auckland and the waste heading out, that was, you know, obviously earlier on. There's a lot going on. I read somewhere about a wool blanket type thing being put over the Kalupa. Do you read anything more on that?
Yeah, so Kalupa, so it's 2 species of invasive seaweed. There's a lagoon in North America where they actually managed to largely clear it out, but I think it requires ongoing monitoring and management to keep it clear. So I guess that's the vision. It would be good if we could get to a stage of that one. And then you're right, it's this thing of like laying something over it. Wool blanket was one of the things they were trying to knock down the Kalupa and then let the other indigenous stuff come back. And there's the challenge of A, does it work? And then B, can it be done at scale?
Yeah.
Is always the challenge. So the
giant vacuum cleaner.
The giant vacuum cleaner is I think my understanding of the suppression with some sort of covering, wool or flax was the other option that works. And it's promising results, but it's just the ability to do that at scale, whereas having a giant vacuum, massive vacuum cleaner that sucks the stuff up. And it's clonal, and a tiny little fragment is enough to reseed.
They were putting chlorine down there too. I read that some kind of I did wonder what effect that had on other species down below.
Yeah, so it may have moved on a little bit since I last was over all the detail of it, but at that stage, it was very much about working out what worked and trying all of these things, and then with the view that once there was a really good way of moving forward with the winners. And so again, the chlorine one I remember, but I haven't heard anything subsequent to that. May not have been chlorine, but some sort of chemical filters.
Again, something new.
Yeah, very, very difficult to manage.
And I saw the tonnage that came off a 0.12 of a hectare. Ridiculous.
So one question I didn't ask, which I was reflecting on afterwards, was what on earth happens to this biomass afterwards? But yeah, I'm sure it will be managed.
We could only dream of growing that amount of grass.
Yeah.
I'll just go to Kevin, hand up, and I'll go to Dane.
I was just wondering if James could let me know what mushy fleshed fish was.
Oh, it's been in the news. I've seen it on.
It has been in the news, and I think one of it's something that I learned about as well, Kevin. So snapper was the species that was highlighted, and in the first instance, in relatively minor cases, the flesh will appear milky, and then as it gets more advanced, the flesh essentially becomes mush. And often when you look at the animals will still be alive, but you'll see misshapen heads and bits and pieces like that. And a lot of it's not a single factor illness, but it's typically seen as a symptom of an ecosystem that's a little bit out of whack. So that's sort of why it's particularly alarming. It's like, yes, there's fish here that are affecting fishermen and commercial fisheries because although it's safe to eat, it's typically not very appetizing.
Yeah.
But it's just a symptom of an ecosystem that's a little bit challenged in some ways.
And understanding the scale of it, because there's a lot of snapper being caught still in the area that are.
I mean, we not that it was a very productive fishing season this last summer. That week we got maybe one that was a bit pale, and you're kind of not always. Sometimes you're not aware of it until you actually fill it. It's just that it is a bit pale and
softer, is it?
Yes,
it's mushy and sort of thing.
It gets to that stage, and it does look a little bit when you compare it to the other fillets, a little bit a little bit more unappealing. But and it just, when you talk about ecosystem, just could be that the population that's there in that area is just too much for that food source. So it's kind of the old Darwin theory in a little way too. So
yeah, and I think on the radar, because it's more frequent rather than it being there at all. Like you said, like there could be pockets where it's a challenge and that's okay in the whole context. It can manage. I think it's just that it appears to be a bit more frequent, which is why it's, a few more alarm bells are going off and being monitored a bit more strategically. Yeah,
I guess it's all about protecting the environment at the end of the day when you hear about bycatch with the birds and stuff that's going on still. But anyway, that's much more. Dane.
I was just wondering, back to the cultural week for a second. Did they find out why or how it got here, and how many pockets and how much is actually around it? How did you got that come across?
So I don't know that they've worked out exactly where it came from. Presumably on a ship, as it's spread out around the rest of the world. Lots of pockets and they're increasing. That's the short answer. I can get you an update of all the places that's been identified thus far, but it's Waiheke Island, Great Barrier Island. There's also an area in just off Northland as well. So there's quite a spread. And it's also, if you don't look for it, you don't see it. So as in the early days, it was particularly was diving orientated and it was transects, and needed to be done quite very, very time consuming to really cover an area and make sure that it's not there. And then it grows very, very quickly. And
Love the environment, eh?
Yeah.
That's the thing. A lot of stuff likes the environment.
because you're not going to see potential people overseas, they won't get here.
And so there's a lot of just thinking about the bycatch. So two things. One is when it comes to Kalupa, there's been guidelines around anchor ropes and bits of like when it's in an area, it's actually anchor ropes that appear to be a way of that it's actually shifted around quite a bit.
Yeah.
So that's one of the guidelines that boat owners and users can follow that will help reduce the transmission. So there's really good guidelines for people that use the Gulf in a boating way. And just on the bycatch side of things, one of the success stories last year was there's some it's actually about the bird bycatch. There's some really good interventions again, which was communicated via the Gulf Forum, which was implemented quite well and didn't take away from what the fishermen were trying to achieve, but did reduce some of that unintentional consequence on them. So there's really it's a really good forum for communicating these types of grassroots type things, activating the communities. And in the Kalupa space, again, there was a lot of community involved with people that lived in the Gulf, on the islands, around the coast, were really, really involved in helping identify where it was, and B, communicating the things that could be done to reduce the spread. So it's a forum about coordinating effort, and those were some good ones in that space. Yeah.
Thanks, James. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it, when we think about the gold clam on the Waikato River and how it's now popped up, and it's probably been there longer than what people perhaps potentially realise, maybe now that it's been discovered in other.
It's only 2+ years, something. More than 2 years.
Yeah.
When they found it, the first one.
Yeah, interesting space, and I presume you're enjoying being a part of it.
Oh yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, I think those that have been on it in the past have always found it very interesting, on that committee in the past, a very interesting organisation to be involved in. While we're not coastal, our catchment gets into there. So that's cool, and a lot of us obviously feature out of our patch and go and visit those areas. Right, so it's someone.
I just have a question. Sorry. I watched a documentary on that Kalupa and how they were trying to remove it, and they said it was very similar to seaweed. Are they doing any studies to say that weed can be used like for medicinal, something to down the track?
Yeah, not that I'm aware of. The one thing I was thinking was, remember when Agrisea came to talk to us here, and So not that I'm aware of,
Mm.
but it's a,
Yeah, so
wouldn't it be amazing if we could find something where humans wanted to exploit it, then we'd have no trouble managing it.
again, it's a resource. Is it a
Yeah.
resource or is it a
Yeah.
waste? That's and I'm sure that there'd be something they can do with it where it could be composted or whatever. There'd be, yeah.
Stock food.
Who would know? Might affect the taste of the milk, James. Okay, so someone thinks there.
I'm not sure. Nathan?
Yeah, Nathan, you. Nothing to add?
You've got to come, James.
Yeah,
You've got to come back, so.
cool. When is your next meeting and where's it going to be?
It's in June and it's at the airport, Auckland Airport.
Okay.
Yeah, so this one was in Hamilton, which was nice for me, and then the one in Auckland, not having to go through the city, also been pretty good as well.
Really
So,
good.
Yeah, awesome.
Still have 3 years to get it.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay, would someone like to move that the information be received? Thank you, Jane. Seconded Russell. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Right, we will adjourn the meeting. We have a long service presentation at 10 o'clock, so we're putting our heads. So it's all like to move that we adjourn. Moved Caleb, seconded Sharon. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. So you'll just adjourn for a quarter of an hour and then come back online at 10 o'clock for a long-term, a long service. So we'll just go back online. So I'm just going back online. Welcome back. Yes, we've finished our other items for the morning, so we've gone to adjournment just briefly. We are now moving into our and so I'll just declare this part of the meeting open again and welcome for our getting tongue-tied today, our long service presentation. So I'll hand it over to Don.
Yeah, Joe, you cannot sit down there and
Come on up, Joe.
expect me to yell at you. Not that I've ever yelled at you.
So we have 30 years of service.
Yes, 30 years starting off their libraries as Joe.
Oh, really?
Chief, yeah, that's
Can't you tell what it's doing to me?
And for some time now, and Joe's undertaken, probably Joe's been the one staff member who's changed office the most. Is it
Yeah, 16 officers.
16 officers?
Wow.
Job titles.
And how many job total?
No, now it's 13
She
job
doesn't
titles.
have people.
So I had to-
Person of many talents.
Absolutely, and she's found her niche, highway or whatever you call it. But Joe loves records. Joe's very thorough in the way she manages what might appear to be a fairly straightforward aspect of our business, but it's an absolutely critical aspect of our business. And I can remember when we last updated our corporate system, our corporate management system. It was a torturous acquisition, in that you get every salesman from every provider in the world suddenly at your front door promising you nirvana as far as corporate software systems are concerned, and you just know that you're looking at the possibility of a total disaster. But that process became so complex and fraught that it was delayed by a year, from memory, a year and a bit. And Joe jumped in and took the initiative to jump in and absolutely thoroughly cleanse all our data. So the McLeod Ds became the D McLeods. In other words, the format, the duplication, the different databases we have for dogs, the health licenses, to where people's names and addresses are located in multiple databases through the organisation. Joe took all of that and cleansed it all and ensured that when we actually did buy our software system, that it was as painless as you can probably get it. I'm not saying it was painless, Joe, but it was probably as good as you can get it, going from an old system, which was a hodgepodge of different things around the organisation, to one that was available to everyone, that was seamless, that had a good structure that enabled you to identify Joe blogs at 45 Smith Street, and here's everything that property and that person has had interacted with us historically.
So it would be 20 years from when we started that.
Right. So I don't know whether you saw that as one of your significant achievements, Joe, but I certainly remember it got us out of the blue. So we have to recognise that as one of your highlights. And I think over the last few years, there's just been an intensity in terms of software upgrades and all the things that are demanded of us under the Official Information Act, the records management legislation and everything like that. Joe's very thorough and a great asset to the organisation in terms of ensuring that we keep our nose clean and run that sort of things efficiently as we do. So thank you, Joe, for all of that. I know you lost your great mate, Steve Hancock. I know you're very, as a manager, he was for you someone really great to work with, and was on the same page as you in terms of doing things. And and it was a great connection. But we are where we are, and you're carrying on carrying the flag and flying the flag, should I say? And thank you for all your years of service, Joe, and no doubt a few more.
Yes, there is a finite.
Not virtually anyway.
No, it's not going to be that long.
So thank you, Joe, for everything, and yeah, thanks for all that you've done. Thank you.
And if I could just add, I think it gives us confidence as a council for the work that you do, and the times when I've had emails come through when there's been questions asked, and Joe's always very thorough and quite clear, because there are times when there are issues arise, and that there's that thing called privacy. What records can we keep? What aren't we? Like if there, like I think the average person doesn't really realise what is stored.
Oh,
in this, yeah, and to get it all on file. There was a lot of paper records that you would have poured over the years. I know we were talking about photos not so long, probably last term, I think, there were photos.
Something came in.
Yeah. So, it's a pretty broad, from the history as well. It's the records of this council and the councils before in many ways, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah. So thank you, Joe. I'm lucky enough to meet a mutual
I'm sure
friend.
you've got something to say, Joe.
Yeah, there you go.
I was in a meeting with Manai yesterday afternoon, and he asked me whether I'd written my speech. And I did remind him I only write speeches for funerals. I'm not looking at that today. I have notes, but I do not have a speech. So, yes, I started 30 years ago in Riwi Street, managing the Te Aroha Library, which was a significant change from having been working at Auckland City Libraries, where I'd been through 3 major implementations there of systems and worked in a totally digital environment, and then came in 1994 with a 4-month-old baby to this, where we were still, people basically walked in and out with their books at Te Aroha Library, and they may or may not have taken the card out the back so we knew where it was. It was a system that when I'd been at library school only kind of 3 or 4 years earlier was referred to as a pre-war system. So it was a bit...
World War I?
I wasn't going to ask. It was a bit classic. So the notes I put to myself was there's some things that are constants. One of the things is, like, it's almost 40 years I've been in local government now. So one of the constants is change. Good, bad, ugly, but positive reasons, for negative reasons, for very God only knows what reasons, change. Budgets. I don't know in what world I have ever experienced having more money than I could possibly spend whilst working in local government. That is not a reality, and it always frustrates me when, because I studied politics at university, and to be honest, democracy was not my political system of choice. When you've studied politics, you just go no, because people end up in the strangest of places making the weirdest of decisions with the best of intentions, but with little or no knowledge of them. And budgets is one of those.
Looking around the room with that.
Yeah, pressure can't be accepted.
Great observation.
It just is. It's the way the world is, and good on it. But it frustrates me, and it is a source of enormous annoyance when people go that we're wasting money. We have made poor decisions. We have been caught out by bad timing where we've paid more for something because that's been the economic environment we've been in, and we would never have paid that if there'd actually been an actual competitive situation. I did my time looking after procurement and looking after contracts. And there are times when we have been quite honestly ripped off by contractors, but that was so everyone else was. It's the world. If you were paying to get work done in your kitchen at home 2 years ago to what you'd be paying a builder now, because suddenly they don't have as much work on, it's market supply. And we're at the risk of what we budget for in our LTPs is crystal ball gazing of the highest level with the dodgiest of crystal balls. And central government doesn't know it itself.
You just started your...
Because you are guessing. It's a best guess based on information you have at the time, and it's subject to whim and whimsy and the daftness of others. So you can only do what you know.
And when the public assume that you have more knowledge of the world and the economic reality, well, I love they believe in us like that, but we don't.
Record this and put this on the company website.
Well, it is, it's live stream.
Remind ourselves every 3 years.
Yeah, and customers have been the other constant. The good, the bad, the ugly, the interesting, the fascinating, the curious, the odd, the fabulous. We've had all of the above and then some. And the wonderful thing that has been part of my entire career in local government is that that's who we're here for. My team and anyone else that I have ever worked with is your touchstone is always, as if you were a customer, what would your expectations be? When staff don't respond to customers in a timely manner, I go, is that what you expect? When you contact us, or if you were contacting Spark, or you were contacting any other agency, do you expect to wait the full 20 working days because that is what the Voima allows you to do? No, it's not okay. If you step in and always take it from a customer-centric point of view, it challenges what you believe as a staff member, and it makes you think about what you're delivering in a much better way. Because that's who we're here for. That's who pays for us. And whether they pay through transit funding, it's still a customer. That's still road users are paying for the funding for our roading work. So no matter where we get our money from, a customer has supplied it. So always coming back to customers. And even the customers that you just get that dreadful feeling in the pit of your stomach, I've got their back. They're a challenge because they make you think about, how do I respond to this as a professional? How do I give this person what they need in a way that means that they understand why they're not getting everything they want? And explain to them in a way that they can understand, because that's the trick. Talking like council people is not the same. We talk in acronyms, we talk in general terms, because we know the environment we're working in. Customers have no clue. So you've got to educate. And that's a huge part of, always has been part of what I've done. Not helping the fact that my mother was a teacher for over 40 years and 30 years at the same school. Longevity is a family trait in that way. The last thing is the purpose. That's been a constant. The purpose is we are here to provide for our community, to keep it safe, to keep it informed, to spend our money wisely, to deliver what they need to be able to go about their business the most effective way they can, without at most times having a clue that we're even there. It's like electricity. You just plug it, you're in and you get it. You should just be able to flush your loo, turn the tap on, walk down the footpath, go to the park, and be safe in all of the ways that safe means. So it's safety and understanding that your information is well looked after, which is my baby, data and information. It's safety in knowing that if something happens in your community, you have a way in which to deal with it. And we can coordinate with other agencies. Civil Defence has had a hammering. In the last, on this turn on the radio this morning, we kind of wished I'd had him. And I've met Sir Jerry Matamata-Piako, and he's a wonderful, wonderful man, but oh my goodness, has he written a report? So part of my roles in council is, yes, I have been involved in information and data since 1994. In that time, I've also been involved in Civil Defence, and I'm currently our intelligence manager in our Civil Defence team. I also have been a privacy officer since 1994 as well. So there's lots of aspects of our business that I've been involved in, and the one thing that has been consistent through all of that is that the people who work here and the people I have worked with, and people have come and gone over 30 years, which you well know, all of them have in their own way uniquely contributed to the knowledge, the depth of information we have, to the systems we've provided, to the service that we have delivered. And whether they've been here for 3 months at the pools, or whether they've been here longer than 30 years in other roles. Not looking at anybody. Yeah, I'm just slowly pointing at you. Every one of those people has had a commitment to this community, regardless of whether the community have necessarily felt it. It has always been there. And so I am privileged to have spent 30 years with the people I've worked with, to have had the opportunities I've had to have the influence, rightly or wrongly, that I've had on the systems and the way in which we've built them. And to know that looking forward, because the future is considerably every time we go through a change, and we're about to enter into a change of taking the organisation into the next level of technology, into the world of AI, good, bad and ugly again, into the world of using data and valuing data far greatly than we have in the past, actually starting to really appreciate and really start to use data more. I'm quite glad that I put a little time limit on myself to be here because I kind of want to get things to a point and then be happy to walk away and go, actually, everything's there to move us forward, and that nobody should be having to ring me up other than say, there's a morning tea on. You feel like, oh, hey, you old lady, get on your scooter and get down here. That's what the future for me is. Well, it's unwritten and it's certainly unknown, but it is certainly not unexciting. So what is cool is that we are still learning, changing, and the organisation as a whole organisation in the time I've been here has learned and changed in every way you can imagine. So I'm very lucky and I'm very privileged and very grateful. Thank you.
Thanks, Jo. I guess that really does throw in the word change. And I heard a quote last night that change is the essence of life. Funny that. I thought it was quite a deep sort of comment saying, but anyway, and I think, Jo, you know, what you've reflected there is around the values of this organisation and people, because it always has been he tangata, he tangata, he tangata. And I think that you epitomise that, so thank you, and we look forward to it. Yeah, Kerry.
I think I'm keen to come to the next funeral you go to. There's no really nice speech, so I'm looking forward to it.
So would you like to move that the information that we received?
I'd love to move that there.
Cheers, Gary. And a second.
Congratulations.
Caleb. Second, Caleb. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
All against. We will say carried, and I will now.
How do we get Jo to the next induction after the next elections?
Oh, okay.
He should be a great speaker.
This could actually add some value. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good point. Point noted.
Look at those words.
Yeah. Thank you. And with that, I will now close the meeting, and we will have morning tea.